to the widows and the children of the IDF fallen soldiers, also the security forces such as Mossad, Shin Bet, and police. The organization supports the widows firstly by being their partners to raising the children. We also support the widows by doing all different kinds of courses and classes, retreats, holiday events, and so many other platforms where they can meet with each other, strengthen and be strengthened as a community. One of the programs is the Otzma camps. Otzma is a community of children who come from a variety of backgrounds, but they all share one common ground. One of their parents died while serving the IDF and the security forces. And of course, they're having a lot of fun, they're hiking together, they're going to concerts, they're doing all kinds of great things, but that common ground is so important for them to develop as healthy individuals.
לא קל לגדול בתור צה"ל. בסוף זה מקום שמחזיק אותי. כל אחד כאילו עוזר לשני לצאת מהטראומה שהוא חווה.
The camp is gathering 4 times a year, and it's great for my kids. They go and have fun with kids that experience their grief, and they have friends for life.
It's like a safe place. I can talk about a lot of things that I'm going through, and I know people won't judge me because they're going through the same things.
Our most urgent need right now is to make sure that the SMART continues to reach out to more children and mothers and make sure that every single family is being supported by our community.
I think this organization is a home for me and for my kids. It's a place to walk through this path of life after death, and I cherish it. And I'm thankful for everyone allowing it to happen.
ואני מאוד שמחה שהכרתי את ארגון אלמנות ויתומי צה"ל. כל התמיכה והעזרה זה לא מובן מאליו.
אני מרגישה כמו משפחה איתו. אני מרגישה הכי חופשי לשתף, להציף, לדבר. זה מלאכים שעובדים ימים כלילות ליצור מעטפת לי, לילדים שלי, וכמובן לכל המשפחות שלצערי נפלו בעשור הזה.
I'm an IDF.
My name is Dan Elbaum. I'm the Executive Director of IDF Widows Orphans. Thank you all so much for coming here today. Thank you to Rabbi Mintz for not saying no, for never saying no, for understanding the importance of our work and to allow us this platform to speak with all of you. Thank you, Cheryl and Trey, not only for hosting us tomorrow, but giving us a roof over our head tonight. You're very special people. And Cheryl, I'm sure there are some people who have done more for Israel and Israel's image than you have in your life, what you've devoted, but there aren't that many. You really have been such a stalwart champion of Israel, and I thank you for your friendship and your leadership in bringing us here. Of course, the Cunninghams, our ambassadors. We talk so much to the Jewish community, and the Cunninghams have been our real communication with the Christian world. An important world to understand the work that we do, and that's just something hugely important. And I also wanted to thank my colleague David Metzler, who's in here from Israel, who I work with every day and is a mentor and a teacher to me about the work of this organization. So as I said, I'm the Executive Director of IDF Widows and Orphans. In a few minutes, and I often promise a few minutes and then go longer, but I'm going to try to keep it to a few minutes. I'm going to introduce Rivital, my friend, and we're going to hear her story. But before that, I want to try to be a bridge between the video that you just watched, those children's faces, those stories, and Rivital's story that you're about to hear. And if there's one fundamental thing that I'd like to ask you to try to remember of what I say, if there's one thing that I hope resonates with you, it's that wars end but our responsibilities do not. We all tend to remember the wars. We remember the headlines. We were talking earlier today about the rocket fire with Iran and will the war continue? And in our own way, we do remember the fallen, the soldiers. We think about whether American soldiers in the plain of Taps or the Israeli soldiers who we mourn like our own children. And we think about the families, but we don't think about, it's a fleeting thought. It's a recognition that it's there. And for that, I want to just remind you that, yes, the wars do end. Yes, the world is fickle and the headlines continue. But our responsibility does not end at that point. That is why this organization was created 35 years ago, IDF Widows Orphans Organization. We were created by the widows. We literally work for them. They are the board of the organization in Israel, them and the children of fallen IDF soldiers, security personnel, security guards, Mossad agents, and others. And that is the fundamental work of this organization, to support them, to represent them, and to provide them with a community. There's just a couple other things that I wanted to say. First is there's something so much within the tradition of our people of the care for the widow and the orphan. It is mentioned in the Bible, perhaps more than any other commandment, repeated and repeated in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament, and the New Testament as well, this existing obligation to the widow and to the orphan. And it's easy to not realize that that was a unique thing at the time. If you look at the Code of Hammurabi, if you look at ancient times, the treatment of the widow, the spouse, or the children of someone who fell was a matter of property to be dispensed of. It was, if anything, at its highest level, it was a family's commitment. For the Jewish people, the uniqueness of our people was the notion that this was a communal responsibility. This was something that we all owned together. That is very much in the spirit that inspires this organization and the work that we do. The organization, as I said, was founded 36 years ago by the widows and orphans. There are still widows from the 1967 Six-Day War as part of the organization. There are orphans from the War of Independence in 1948 who are part of the organization. But of course, what we're thinking about today and what we're going to talk about is the widows and the children from October 7th. And since October 7th, there have been 360 widows, 3 widowers, I should add, 360 widows, over 900 children. 250 of those children are under the age of 5. 50 of the women were pregnant at the time that our husband fell. Their children still being born are now automatically part of this organization at that time. And that is the fundamental question. What is our responsibility to all of them? And for me, I came to this organization a little over a year ago. I had worked at larger organizations. I actually watched a video similar to that one and decided this is where I wanted to commit myself. And I want to admit something to you. When I took the position, I was thinking about the financial aid that needed to be given to the families. And I was also thinking about the importance of them having a voice in government. What I didn't understand, and I really hope that you take away from today, is something that I had to see with my own eyes, and that is the community that's been created. Just imagine for yourself, you can take a moment and imagine that you have lost your husband or your spouse suddenly in combat, defending your country. Or imagine if it's your father who you lost. Imagine how you feel, feeling different, holding that. People come for the Shiva, people don't know what to say, navigating that world. And suddenly you can go to a camp where 400 other kids have shared your experience, where they know exactly how you feel, where you can where it's within the air, and it's not a sad air in that sense, it's a shared experience and a comfort level, an ability to stand up straight, an ability to breathe. That is the hiddenness of this organization that I didn't realize until I became involved in it. That is, and it goes from the camps that you saw, those beautiful pictures of, to a B'nai Mitzvah trip right now as we speak. There are 30 Israeli children, the age of 13 and 12, who have been to Chicago. They're now at camp in Wisconsin, and after that they'll go to New York, and they're going to go to see a Broadway show in New York. For many of them, it is their first trip to the United States, and they're here together feeling that embrace of our community. Just yesterday, there were over 1,000 of kids and family members at our back to school event. Over 1,000 there, listening together, feeling that community. The event was actually originally going to be our Purim event. It was canceled because of the war with Iran. We then made it our Yom Ha'atzmaut event, which was also canceled because of the war with Iran. But you cannot stop us from getting our people together, enjoying each other and being with each other. And they had that event. They had it in July. We're going to continue to do that work. So now, having fulfilled my promise to speak longer than I told you I would, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Rivital. Rivital, I don't want to steal your story or anything else. I just want to say that you're going to hear the story, and the story, when you look at her, it's easy to feel the story and understand the pain and to be inspired by the resilience. And of course, you'll think of the others. This is one story among 360 women, or thousands if you go back to widows of prior conflicts. But what I want you to internalize is that this is all of us. This is all of our story in terms of this moment. And with that, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Rivital. It's my honor, really. And after that, we're happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you again for coming.
So I would like to thank you as well for coming here. My name is Rivital. I'm 49 years old. I've been born in Paris and made my Aliyah at the age of 3. Ever since, I've been living in Moshav Yesha, which is located 5 kilometers from the border with Gaza. I have 3 children, a 16-year-old girl called Ella, 14-year-old boy Ziv, and an 11-year-old boy, Itamar, who celebrates today. I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist, and for the past 2 years, 9 months and 1 day, I'm the widow of Lior Ben Yaakov, who was killed on October 7th, fighting Hamas terrorists. Lior was a very devoted man to everything he chose to do. He raised our children almost by himself during the years of my internship at the hospital. He changed diapers, he heated bottles, he made ponytails, cooked meals. He's the youngest brother to 2 older sisters, but he was the one to call to check if they drank enough water today, are they eating well, to give advice about how to deal with their teenage kids, help with financial issues. He used to call his mother every weekend, but sometimes on Friday evening to say Shabbat Shalom, sometimes on Saturday evening to say Shavua Tov, so she won't get used to any of the two. He used to play the guitar. His favorite time was when it was time to prepare the home for Shabbat. He was an extremely smart man. He found interest in everyone and everything, from history to music, agriculture, geography. We didn't use Google at home, we just asked Dad. He also was a very, very, very funny man. He was an excellent storyteller, a talented impressionist. He was the center of every gathering. But he was also a very serious man. He was the deputy chief of our local security squad for 8 years. He developed a life-saving device to stop hemorrhages. He taught our kids and my 2 younger sisters self-defense. Again, his favorite time and place is Friday evening on my mom's kitchen floor. He always got into the car wearing working boots because his grandfather, who survived the Holocaust, told him he should always be ready to run. On the morning of October 7th, he left almost as soon as the bombing started. We were familiar with the attacks from Gaza, but this time it was not the same. At first, we ran with the kids to the safe room. Leo understood that something was unusual and instructed me to prepare for a short stay. So I grabbed a bottle of water, some biscuits. I closed the front door behind him. And that was the last time I saw him. In the safe room, I tried to keep the kids busy. We played some board games and we watched funny videos on the phone, waiting for all of it to end. But it didn't. We were instructed to lock the safe room's door from the inside, to hold the handle, not to answer if someone knocks on the door, to keep quiet, to update if we hear footsteps or gunshots. And as time went by, the kids started to lose patience. We ran out of water and food. We all had to use the restroom. We couldn't get out. Ella said that she felt like Anna Frank. And Ziv kept getting messages about friends and people we know who got kidnapped. And Itamar just kept asking for his dad. During that time, Leo was out there trying to assess the situation, and since it was a holiday, it was Simchat Torah. Besides him, there was only one more member of the security squad, and a young soldier on vacation. So all three of them patrolled the place, they guarded the gates, they treated wounded people who escaped the Nova music festival, until they were called to Moshav Mivtachim, which was right nearby. A group of about 20 terrorists took over an elderly couple's house. They shot and killed their security squad. Leo and his partners came for help. They were outnumbered, but they didn't think twice. They fought bravely, but none of them survived. Luckily, the terrorists had several high-ranked casualties themselves. So they took him back and withdrew to Gaza, back to Gaza, leaving the place without completing their killing spree. And this is how our lives were saved. We were informed about Leo's death around midnight. And one of the first things that my youngest son said was, "What an embarrassment to be the only kid in class with no dad." And since that moment, that issue of orphanry bothered all three of them all the time. Do they want people to know? What should they answer if people ask? Are there other orphans they might know? Would people treat them differently now? Who would take them on the boys' bar mitzvah trip? They avoided public events. They didn't want to meet new people. They felt like no one can really understand what they were going through. The next day, we had to leave home as fast as possible. I grabbed our toothbrushes, some clothes from the hang. We drove to Tel Aviv, to my sister's house. We couldn't have the funeral at home, so we had it at another cemetery far away. The Shiva was at the Oz sister's house in Tel Aviv. And right afterwards, we moved to our new home for the next year in the southern part of Israel, the Arava. We stayed in a room and a half. We stood in line every day to pick up meals. We collected second-hand clothes that people donated. And soon after, I got a phone call. It was a young, sweet lady from the IDF who presented herself and offered help. the first thing that I felt was tremendous anger. Why is she calling me? What do I have to do with that? It's not that I didn't know I'm a widow, my kids are orphans. I just didn't want to hear it from someone else. I mean, widows are old ladies wearing black and holding a cat. How can it be me? So I kindly refused and hoped they will never call again. But they did, again and again. And they invited us to one of the Otzma camps. And the kids were so curious and excited to meet other kids like them, so we agreed to go. And as soon as we arrived, everything fell into place. No questions, no worries, no embarrassment, just pure fun, positive energy. They were not different anymore. They could smile, they could laugh, it was okay. And besides the kids, a large portion of the instructors themselves are IDF orphans. So the effect of this peer group was incredible. Since then, the kids keeps going to the Otzma camps 4 times a year. Ella went on the 3-week delegation, Bar Bat Mitzvah delegation to North America, which was an amazing experience of independence, of capability, of resilience. All 3 of them take part in a program called Tala, which cultivates personal qualities and strengths. Ella rides horses, Ziv surfs waves, Itamar climbs boulders. And when they will reach the age of 18, they will join the Otzma Plus program, which will provide them with academic and professional guidance and support. Now, I've been asked in the past 2.5, almost 3 years, to share our story. And I usually write down the things I want to say. And going through my notes, I see how things changes over time. At the beginning, I didn't know what I need. For us, the families who survived October 7th, it was food, clothes, food supplies, school supplies, some basic kitchenware. But as time goes by, I understand that the real challenges are still ahead. The real new life. It's time to move from surviving to living, from not drowning to swimming. As a young woman, as young people, we would plan a life. We choose a partner, hopefully we choose well. We build a family. We choose careers that we can commit to. We decide who is in charge of what, who does what compromises are we willing to make for the benefit of our partner. And one day, none of that is relevant anymore. We'll have to start all over again, but this time alone. But we are not alone. We have the IDF WO organization with us from now and forever, through all stages of life, through all the different challenges and changes we will experience, through personal and emotional and professional and financial issues. They help us with health grants and academic scholarships, with professional counseling. Some of us can no longer practice what we did before. Financial support, since now we're the only providers. We have therapeutic retreats and activities, legislation, both for me and my kids. So I'll take the opportunity to thank again the organization and to thank you for coming here tonight. Thank you so much.
We're happy to take any questions. or if you don't have questions, I'll keep giving a speech. So that's my threat. Yes.
Are you working as a physician today? I still haven't.
The answer is no, not yet. I didn't go back to work. I really hope I could. Okay.
My question, I understand the benefits you describe that this organization has provided for your children and how much joy that's brought you. But how have you, independent of those children, how have you benefited uniquely from the organization and the things that you might be able to do with that organization?
Well, as I said, they also provide programs for us. It can be emotional support. It's financial counseling. Everything changed the way we have to run our financial sources right now. Some of us have to rethink their professional way. We have to take new studies, new courses, amazing legislation, changing of rules that have been existing for years and are not relevant anymore, like orphans having their rights end at the age of 21, and now it has been changed to the age of 30. Widows losing their pension, their husband's pension, if they get remarried. So for many years, a lot of widows didn't remarry, so they won't lose that help. All kind of therapeutic activities we have. And I can also say that we have the CEO on speed dial, like for every question, related, not related, half related. We always have someone either to help us directly or to direct us to whom may help at that specific issue.
I know just with the IDF, the FGIDF that we work with at home, do you get any, because all those, they get scholarships and they get the money, some of it goes for when they get on leave, that they get to go on vacations and get to do things. Does the Friends of IDF help you also, or are you connected with that at all?
Not so much. We do. There is a small project that I hope that they provide us dogs to cat. Yes, I do. I'm online. I'm waiting. And they just called me, and we'll talk when I come back. We don't have that much connection and relationship. It's not the same. I don't think they don't have the same purposes, right? I don't know much about it.
So FIDF, which is obviously a wonderful and important organization, like as the name suggests, is their primary concern is the soldiers. So providing scholarships for the soldiers, aid for wounded soldiers, recreation centers, and that sort of thing. This is, by the way, a very common question we get. IDF Widows and Orphans organization is the only organization recognized by the Israeli government to represent and speak out and support the spouses and children of fallen IDF soldiers, police officers, security personnel, Mossad agents, Shin Bet, etc. So it's a very clear division in terms of how the work goes. Just to explain the closeness of the relationship, the soldiers from the IDF's casualty department, when they go to the spouse's home to knock on that door for the knock that no one ever wants to receive, and give her the news that her husband is among the fallen soldiers, those soldiers' orders is next to contact IDF Widows and Orphans after that conversation's been complete. A handoff happens at that point in time. We attend the funeral in some cases. It was very difficult after October 7th. Now it's easier for us to do that type of thing. We go to the Shiva and we make the call that Revital talked about within weeks. And your response is pretty typical of the women who received the call. This is not something for me. This is not something they ever identified with. But then again, the story is very common. It's the kids that bring them in through the Otzma camps and to see their kids' happiness, and then we start to see their involvement grow. So it's the organization, Shlomi, the CEO in Israel, likes to say is we have one job, and that is to support this population of the spouses and children of those soldiers who paid the highest price for Israel and the Jewish people.
I would like to emphasize that they do have bar mitzvah delegation, the FIDF, but the difference is that they don't offer the community, the continuity. They do have like random project, important project. Everything that anyone does for us and for the kids is important. But the extra, the value of the community that is created, that is lifelong, it's incomparable to anything.
So have you done any work to do at the FPT? They are very popular in our town now, and so they're very active and they raise lots of money. And so I don't know if you would get a USA.
Rabbi Menz said earlier, it's about the quality, not about the quantity. I agree.
So just in terms of scale, our staff in the United States, you're looking at half of our staff. So we're considerably smaller than FIDF is. And obviously the organization has had to scale up since October 7th, and we're in the process of doing that. So very much familiar with that. And of course, tremendous respect for the work that they do, but this is a very different work and a very important work.
Dan, can you explain what we were talking about? Okay. Can you explain what you also support with the 60 women?
So what we were talking about earlier is something that just never occurred to me, and I think will surprise many of you. So when a soldier falls, in combat or otherwise, when the spouse is notified, she has a narrow window of time if she wants to have a sample removed in case she would like to have children with them at some point later. There's around a 10 or 12-hour window of time where she can make that choice, and a procedure can be performed that allows that possibility of her having their additional children or children with them. You heard me say before there are around 360, it's right around 360 widows since October 7th. Around 60 or so have made the choice to preserve the sample from their husbands. 2 have already given birth, and 2 are currently pregnant with their husband's child. Actually, IDF Widows and Orphans is there for them in whatever decision they make. It actually, and this is just about living in the year 2026, there's a legal procedure that's involved where it's her obligation to show that it was his intent also to have children. So there's a legal threshold that has to be satisfied. We represent them in the hearing, and then assuming that they proceed in the hearing, and everyone has proceeded in the hearing, then our obligations to that unborn child begin. We have a program for all pregnant widows with a night nurse program as well as a midwife program so that they can have whatever music they want playing at the delivery, whether they want the husband's family there, whether they don't want the husband's family there. We're there to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible during that process, and whatever the interests are of that woman and of her child once the child's born. Once the child is born, he or she receives all the full rights of every single child who was born from an IDF veteran, a fallen soldier, security personnel. So he or she's entitled to the same benefits now till the age of 30 because of legislation we passed. And it is, it's just something that most of us don't read about in the news or hear about. It's just a reality of how life proceeds there. But it's also a sacred obligation of ours to stand by the mother, whatever decision she chooses to make, and the child as well.
Question?
It was great to see everybody enjoying themselves at the camps. But how did this trauma really manifest itself in the children? Not asking you to get too personal, but how did it manifest in your children? What did you have to deal with for them?
I can start.
That's a long answer.
That's a complicated question because it changes all the time. It differs between all three of them. It's not the same reaction. For many months, almost a year, my youngest son couldn't leave my side, literally. You can imagine what it means. And he's a very, very smart boy. His head didn't stop working. Math calculations regarding time, distance from Gaza, the time it can take terrorists to arrive to all kind of places we stayed in, ways to build a time machine to go back, all kinds of things. My daughter, she was very, very, very attached to her father. She's the eldest. She spent most of the time with him, and since, like I said, he was the main caregiver for a lot of years, so they were very close. So she experienced a very meaningful sounds like a positive, but the loss is tremendous. One of the first things she shared with me, I think it was a week or two after, she asked me, she said, I don't get it, she was 14. She said, I can't decide when I will get married. Would it be a happy event or a sad event? She couldn't decide. My middle one, if you'll see him, you will never guess anything happened. He's fine, he's cool, calls up Baba. Obviously, it's not. He can't stay in the class more than a couple of minutes. He needs to go out all the time. He can't concentrate properly. He's acting out. And again, it changes. It's unpredicted. It's a very hard question. I don't have a good answer.
Thank you for sharing your really personal story. It is really moving, and I commend you for not going back to work and taking care of what's most important, because you only have one shot at this. And my question is, you mentioned that the Israeli government is in lockstep with the organization. What have they committed in the way of financial resources, besides what a deceased soldier might receive in the way of pension? What else? What was their financial commitment to the organization?
So it is considerable. The question was about the Israeli government's commitment to the organization and to the widows. So I don't want to pass over the fact that the pension is very significant, and it's been recently altered for the children to go to the age of 30. It had been 21 before. And there was an understanding that we made the case that most Israeli parents care for their children beyond the age of 21. 21 is when you're getting out of the army, generally at that point. and it needed to be extended further. The most significant thing that the Israeli government does, the Ministry of Defense, for this organization is that they cover most of our overhead, almost the entire overhead of the operation in Israel, so that I can look a prospective donor in the eye and say that your donation will go directly to the recipients. It's not going towards salaries, air conditioning, any of those other issues, that the amount that the government gives us is able to cover not only our existing presence, but hopefully the eventual expansion of the organization. So that is the most significant thing. The closeness of the relationship, I really like, if you wanted to picture almost a three-legged stool of how we're trying to hold up this community, and we understand that no matter what we do, no matter how well we do it, we're always going to fail. It will never be a substitute for a parent in that situation. But it is the IDF Casualties Department, which is the one for the IDF specific, the soldiers. The IDF specifically designates to form a relationship with the family and help them in those first months. There's the Ministry of Defense, which coordinates the military, the financial aid and other areas like that. And there's IDF Widows and Orphans organization to do what the government can't do, to bring you to camp, to give you a gift on your bar mitzvah and on your wedding, to take you on a bar mitzvah trip. Those are the functions to form that community that's there, and everyone understands their respective roles within this, and we're incredibly grateful to the government. It's interesting, it's the least political organization in Israel, because everyone serves and everyone understands the obligation to them. And then I said everyone serves, it's a few of you think, not everyone serves in terms of the Haredi parties, but they also have a reverence and an understanding of our commitment to the widow and the orphan. So the legislation that we pass is fair, it passes without any partisan bickering or anything else like that. This is an organization that's understood to have a crucial place in Israeli life, and it's because of that closeness to the IDF and to the government that we're able to do it. We're not getting the list of new widows from Facebook. We're getting official reports from the Ministry of Defense of this following person has unfortunately been designated, they should be visited at this time, and the handoff is occurring in real time in terms of the relationship.
Other questions?
So I wanted to tell one other very quick story, and then, of course, if you have anything else to say, but I just wanted to emphasize how this is an organization for all Israelis. So I had the privilege and honor of being at the president's house last year when the B'nai Mitzvah delegation came. So this was, I think it was around 30 again. They do a trip to the United States over the summer, and then that same group has a special day in Jerusalem. And I'll just tell you their day. Their day begins with a visit to the president's house, where they're personally greeted by President Isaac Herzog and the First Lady Michal, and they have a meeting with him. Then they go to the kotel, and the boys receive tefillin, the girls receive candlesticks, and there's a religious ceremony there, and dancing with soldiers and other things like that. And after that, they can have what I can best describe as a terrible American bar mitzvah party with fried food and a DJ that was far too loud for me. And they love it and get gifts and presents and everything else like that. So that is the day as it's outlined. So I was sitting there at the first part where they were meeting with the president, and he's introducing himself to every single child, and they're saying their name, who their father was, and they're just, of course, they're regular Israeli kids, but they're united in this thing, in this club that nobody wants to be in. And all of a sudden I heard the words, Ani lo medaberet ivrit. I don't speak Hebrew. Words that I say every time I'm in Israel, whenever I'm walking anywhere and trying to get someone to speak to me in English. And I looked, and it was a young Bedouin girl. And the president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, and the first lady of Israel, Michal Herzog, got down on one knee and told her in Arabic that her father was a hero, and that how much her sacrifice meant to them, and how grateful they were and honored they were to have her in their home. And nobody in the room thought anything spectacular was happening. And I was sitting there looking for the New York Times or any of the other people who claim to know the real Israel and seeing this real Israel. And then when the other kids went to the hotel, she went to the Dome of the Rock. It's her first visit and her family's first visit. They live in the Negev, to the Dome of the Rock to see the holy sites there. At the end of the evening, I saw her again at the party with the loud music and the fried food. And I said to her, "Gam ani lo medaber Ivrit." I also don't speak Hebrew. And we had what for me was a very special moment. I don't know what it was for her, but this organization, it's not only a special organization because it's embedded in Jewish values, it's because it's an Israeli organization, because it represents the North, the South, the religious, the non-religious, Muslim, the Druze, the Orthodox, and others. Everyone in Israel enters into this fundamental contract with the state that if, God forbid, something happens to them, we'll be there for you. And we as a diaspora Jewish community share that commitment and involvement and have our role to play. And for me, that's why it's such an incredible honor to be part of this organization that is there for all Israelis who are doing this work for us.